Okay, here we go with Course 3, Class 2, Homework Assignment number 2, also known as your last homework assignment. Okay, let's get started. Problem 1 is a trig problem. It says the sine squared of A plus the sine squared of B. What is that? Don't forget. It's all about SOHCAHTOA with this kind of problem. And so it's the sine squared of A. So here is A. The sine of A is opposite over the hypotenuse. So that is radical 7 over 3, but they want that squared, plus the cosine squared of B. Well, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Here's B, and here's the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Ends up being the exact same thing. So that is radical 7 over 3, but they want that squared as well. So we saw something like this in the last homework assignment. 7, the square root of 7 squared gives you 7 over 9. 3 squared is 9 plus 7 over 9 again equals 14 ninths. The correct answer is E. Okay, question number 2 asks, what is the tangent of B? And what you need to remember, of course, is SOHCAHTOA. In this case, we need tangent, so it's tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Take a look, here is B, and then opposite is radical 2 over adjacent, which is radical 7. So radical 2 over radical 7, the correct answer is J. Problem 3, question 3. A bag contains 20 yellow marbles, 15 blue marbles, and 15 red marbles. If you randomly pick one marble from the bag, what's the probability that the marble you pick is not blue? Remember, ACT likes to ask you the probability of picking something that's not a certain quality. So altogether you have 20 yellow plus 15 blue plus 15 red. So there are a total of 50 marbles. So the probability of not picking a blue is 50 minus the 15 from the blue. So the probability is 35 out of 50. Now, so that I don't have to do a lot of thinking, I see, well, this 50 is it's half of 100. So if I just double both of these numbers, same probability, 70 out of 100, which gives me 0.7. Correct answer is C. Question 4 asks you, which of the following is the correct expression for the length of side AB? So this is what we're trying to solve for right here, this length down right here. We know we're looking at a right triangle, and we're given the measures of two of the sides, or one of the sides we're given the measure is 20, and we're given the measure of this angle 48 degrees. Remember this mathematical truth that the sine of A over A equals the sine of B over B equals the sine of C over C. So we can use that and set this problem up. But before we do that, we have to know the measure of this angle right here. And so we know this angle is 90 degrees. And we know this is 48. So it's really going to be 180 minus 90 plus 48, or 180 minus 138, which equals 42 degrees. So this angle in here is 42 degrees. Because we know that, we can set up the problem to make it look like this up here, where the sine of 48 over 20, sine of 48 over 20 equals the sine of 42 over something we don't know, and that's what we're trying to solve for right there, A, B. Then you cross multiply, you end up with sine of 48x equals 20 times the sine of 42. Cross multiply. Then divide by sine of 48 to get x by itself. And there's your expression, 20 the sine of 42 over the sine of 48. The correct answer is F. Question 5 says your classmate wants to find the length of side AC. So wants to find the length of this side right here. Which of the following will allow him to find it? The problem with the answer A is using the law of sines, you need to know the measures of angles and sides, but if you look at the figure, you're given the measures of angles up on the top and the measures of sides down on the bottom, and because this is 70 degrees here and this is an unknown value inside here and an unknown value here, you can't really use the law of sines. That's out. And option C is actually out because you can't use Pythagorean theorem when you have the measures of sides but they're not on a right triangle. So C is out. D would tell you which side would be largest or smallest, but that doesn't really help you when you're trying to find the actual measure of a side. And so it turns out the correct answer is B, the law of cosines, because you have enough information to complete the law of cosines with what you're given in the picture. Question 6 is another probability question. Drawing 2 cards from a standard deck without replacing the first card. What's the expression for the probability of drawing 2 kings? Keeping in mind, of course, that there are 52 cards in a standard deck of cards and there are 4 kings. So the probability of pulling one out the first time is 4 out of 52. And then you're going to multiply that by the probability of pulling one out. Let's imagine you pulled out the king the first time. Now there are only 3 kings left, and there are also only 51 cards left. So that would be the expression for drawing the 2 kings out without replacement. The correct answer is H. Question 7 says, in a right triangle ABC, the sine of A equals 3 over 5. This is when it comes in handy to remember SOHCAHTOA, because the sine of A equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So you can visualize it. The sine of A equals the opposite over hypotenuse. If the opposite is 3, and the hypotenuse is 5, oh goodness, what do you got right down here? It's going to be a perfect 3, 4, 5 triangle. So if the sine of A, this makes this A, is 3 over 5, then the cosine of A is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. We already know that the adjacent side has to be 4 over the hypotenuse 5. The correct answer is B, 4/5. All right, way to go. You have now just completed homework number 2 from Course 3, Class 2, also known as the finish line. Way to go. You stuck with it, and you are better off for it. Good luck on the ACT.